This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up? Before this video starts, I want to talk about the membership program that I'm starting so you could become a channel member and get distinctive badges. I have badges all the way from like the original helmet stripe. That's what you get when you first sign up. And then as the months go on and you continue to stay a channel member, you get access to different stripes, colorways of your badges. You also get access to exclusive emojis. The more of you that join, the more emojis I can put in here. So let's try to get 30 people by the start of this season to join the channel membership so I can add more. And also we have member exclusive posts that I can put up there as well. So if you want to join and become a channel member, there'll be a ton of perks. Oftentimes, since in the off season, all we have to do really is debate with each other about how we feel about certain players. Sometimes it feels like the consensus that we have come up with as fans is the consensus that the Browns have come up with as a team. But those two things are different, right? Browns fans do not run the personnel side of the Cleveland Browns. The Browns personnel staff runs that side. And sometimes, and oftentimes, honestly, there is a disconnect between what the fans feel about a player and what the personnel side of the actual team feels about a player. So what I want to do today is talk about players that I think fans have given up on, but the Browns haven't. Now, to be clear, if you hear somebody on this list that you still believe in, I'm not saying that every single Browns fan has given up on this player, but I am saying that there has been a large enough chunk or a conversation that the conversation where the implication of that conversation is that you're giving up on a certain player. For example, Jerome Ford is on this list. Now, everybody hasn't given up on Jerome Ford. And I think if you ask people individually, hey, do you think the Browns should keep Jerome Ford? You're not going to hear a lot of people who say they should cut him. But where it's become obvious to me in the discourse that a lot of fans have given up on Jerome Ford is everybody's eagerness to sign a backup running back whenever one kind of becomes available, right? We've done this with Zeke Elliott. We are doing this right now we did this for Dalvin Cook when he was available. If he's still available, I don't know. But we have been looking for ways to replace Jerome Ford's projected role on this team, which is backup running back and situational third down back at every turn, which indicates to me that fans have lost faith in him. Now, why have fans lost faith in him? For some guys on this list, there are great examples and a number of things you can point to explain why fans have lost faith in some of these players. Some of these other players, just because like no reason really. And I think Jerome Ford, there's really no reason people have given up on Jerome Ford. And again, it's not like I think people have actively are going out their way to say that the Browns should cut Jerome Ford, but I think people want to reduce his role without any evidence that he's not good at his role. You know, he's been doing a good job with kick returns when he was in there. I thought he had a couple of moments in the preseason and a couple of moments when he got in on very limited time last year. So Jerome Ford is one of these people that I think fans have given up on in large part. But I don't think the organization feels the same about him. I think the organization feels like Jerome Ford is more than good enough to take that second running back role. And they have their eyes on him, Peck, to see if he could be a starting running back, given how, how Nick Chubb ages. Now, again, that depends on how Nick Chubb ages. Is he going to continue to be a 1,500-yard back? If he does, then no, the Browns are going to keep him until he retires. But if Nick Chubb, like, all of a sudden falls off a cliff, then there's something there. Another guy that I think Browns fans, and myself included, have given up on, that I don't think management has given up on, is Jordan Elliott. I wasn't a fan of the pick, to be fair, when it happened. I stated a number of reasons, including his lack of like real showable strength on tape. His inconsistency when trying to convert speed to power, and his lack of production that he had in Missouri, and why I didn't feel like he was going to really pan out. And those things plus more have really been his detriment. He's had flashes of looking like he could be a serviceable 3-tech in the NFL, but nothing consistent enough. But I don't think management has given up on him, because they still are working a way to manage his contract. They're still trying to get him out there, give him first team reps. Like, there is clearly something that Andrew Berry sees with Jordan Elliott that Kevin Stefanski sees with Jordan Elliott. And maybe it might be out of desperation, because, again, this team hasn't really had a lot of long-term solutions at the defensive tackle spot, because so many of their draft picks at the position just haven't panned out. And speaking of people that I think fans were ready to give up on, again, not everybody, not me. I'm the exact opposite of this, honestly, when it comes to like Jordan Elliott. This is the polar opposite for me. But Perion Winfrey was somebody that like people wanted to cut earlier this summer because he may or may not have gotten into legal issues. And then it turned out that he got those things dismissed because he did a class or something like that. Like, it ended up being a nothing burger with Perion Winfrey, like that whole situation with him. But I have to admit, it's somebody who's a fan of Perion Winfrey, somebody who thinks his tape in college was incredible, who thinks he has the potential to be an incredible player. He also has the ability, an uncanny ability, to have weird things just follow him. Like, he just misses games, he falls off scooters and gets injured. He practices some days and he's not, and he's disappearing. Like, there's always something weird going on with Perion that I just can't put my finger on. And I think a lot of that, or at least some of that, had to do with like the lack of guidance in the actual like D-tackle room that they had for him. And hopefully these things can be mended as the year goes on, because I think he has tremendous potential. I think he can play well when he's put in a position for success. And I think with the right coaching and the right locker room and the right things going right in his life, he can be a very good football player. But the question is all that going to go right with him? I don't think the Browns are ready to give up on him, because it wouldn't make sense. You're not the most talented interior defensive line room in the NFL. You don't have the most depth in the NFL, and like getting rid of a Perion Winfrey to keep, a pedestrian player or somebody that you don't think has the potential to be above average would be a silly move, given the lack of upside that you still have in the room at this point. So I just don't see any reason for them to move on from him. But I think a lot of fans, due to the fact that a lot of weird stuff happens around him, and then he was the dude that was barking and doing all that extra stuff, have just kind of gotten tired of the whole Winfrey experience. But I'm hoping that he can just like mature a little bit and kind of age out of some of this nonsense. And as he ages out, he'll be a better player. The next guy on the list, Harrison Bryant. Look, I'm ready to give up on Harrison Bryant. A lot of y'all ready to give up on Harrison Bryant. Some of y'all might have already given up on Harrison Bryant. Now, for those of you who don't know the lore behind Harrison Bryant was, I think, drafted in 2020, and he had one of the most spectacular training camps from a rookie at tight end position in Cleveland Browns history. Like, I'm not joking. Like, the man was balling. We thought he was going to be the next George Kittle in training camp, but he's not been the next George Kittle. He's been inconsistent as a catcher of the football. He's been inconsistent as a blocker at tight end. It seems like he can't add weight to his frame, which makes his projected position coming out of college as an H-back very hard for him to maintain, because again, he's just a wiry dude, but not a strong wiry dude, and not a guy who could bulk up. So he has issues there. And then on top of all of that, he had a fumble problem his rookie year. Now, he's not gotten a lot of catches or targets enough for me to say that he still has a fumble problem, but he don't got a lot of catches because he don't be catching the football. So there's a lot going on with Harrison Bryant, but I don't think the team's ready to give up on him, given that they just restructured his contract, and that they want to work with this whole 3 tight end thing with him, Jordan Atkins, and David Njoku. I don't know. Well, David can block, and I don't know if Jordan can block. Harrison can't. He can physically do it. He's just not the best at it. I would feel more comfortable with the actual 3rd tight end, but I don't think that's the way that the Browns are going to go. Anthony Schwartz, and I know this is going to set some people on fire, because like, if you could point to somebody who fans are most ready to give up on, and it seems like the franchise is not willing to give up on this dude, is Anthony Schwartz. And it's gotten to the point to where so many people dislike Anthony Schwartz that like there's this other group of people who I think are ironically doing it, who now believe it. Anthony Schwartz is just that's a weird rabbit hole to run down for the Cleveland Browns. But basically, Anthony Schwartz was drafted in the 3rd round. He ran a 4.24 at his pro day, and he was supposed to be the speed guy, but he has seldom showed an ability for speed. Now, I think he gets picked on far too much. Like, I think there is a section of the fan base that are let me just be frank about it. I think they're like douches about certain players. Like, they pick a player they don't like, and then they just spend every waking minute of their existence to try to make that player miserable. It's a very weird thing. I think they think it makes them seem cool. I think it's just kind of pathetic when people do that. Like, I get if you don't like a player, but spending every waking moment of your life like trying to come up with nicknames on the player and clip a player every time he doesn't do something, or like, you see this a lot with Anthony Schwartz and Jed Wills, where there are just some people who are out there who are willing to like get to some real loser depths to make the point that they're not good football players, when I don't think anybody is making that point with Anthony Schwartz, like, legitimately. Like, Jed Wills is a whole different story. He's actually good at football. He's just not as good as people want him to be. Anthony Schwartz, people just pick on. And I get it. He's kind of a meme, but like, at some point, we just gotta let it go, man. He's not that good. Like, let it go. He's not good. Like, we don't gotta sit here and harp on it every day. But yeah, I don't think the team's ready to give up on him yet. Like, for whatever reason, I think he's going to make the team, and that sounds ridiculous. I think he's probably going to make the team. Not because he should make the team. If I were in charge, I probably would not have him on the team. But I think they're probably going to keep 7 wide receivers, and enough people have gotten on IR in the last couple of months that it's feasible he can make the team. So that's another guy that I don't think they're ready to give up on. I think that makes sense that fans are ready to give up on Anthony Schwartz versus not make sense. David Bell, on the other hand, like, people just giving up on him, and it's because he wasn't great in year 1. And I saw somebody really like use this line of logic to defend why everybody just like immediately decided to throw David Bell in the trash. And it was because they felt like he didn't have a good enough year 1 to determine if he's going to be a good wide receiver. So since he did not have a good year 1, he's not going to ever be good. That's so dumb. Like, how many wide receivers have had pedestrian year 1s? A bunch of them have, and they've been fine. No, David Bell wasn't going to become DeAndre Hopkins. He wasn't going to get 1,000 yards in year 1. He was a 3rd round pick. He's not supposed to. And I think DeAndre Hopkins is a bad example because I don't think he was a 1st round pick. But still, the point stands. Like, our expectations for him got too high, and then he didn't meet very high unrealistic expectations, and then people got mad at him for it. That's basically what happened with David Bell. Jacob Phillips, I think we have given up on Jacob Phillips for good reason, because we saw him play Mike linebacker last year. It wasn't good. But if you don't think Jacob Phillips' future is at Mike, and you might adjust to put him at Sam or Will, he has a future for this team. So I think that's why the team hasn't given up on him. And the last guy, and look, this is probably going to be the most controversial pick, because I don't think a ton of people have given up on him, but enough have for me to point it out. And this is JOK, where I think there are a lot of fans who are jumping on the I'm giving up on JOK train. And usually most of these fans were the people who were never really on it. They thought he was too small to play linebacker, even though the size of linebackers has gotten significantly smaller in the last couple of years league-wide. There have been a lot of people just not on the JOK train. He did not have a good year last year, despite having a pretty solid rookie campaign. And I think a lot of people have jumped on that to say that, oh, he's not going to be able to stay healthy. He's going to be injury prone, this, that, and the third. And I think there were a lot of things that led to that down year, right? Defensive tackle play being bad. He had personal turmoil in his life. And the team just was awful defensively. They were a complete mess, to the point to where it's kind of hard to get a good evaluation on anybody, because everybody looked pretty awful. So I think a lot of people have given up on JOK, but I don't think the team is even remotely close to giving up on JOK. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Who are the players on this team that you might have given up on, but you're afraid that the team hasn't given up on? Or vice versa. Who are the guys that you haven't given up on that you're afraid that the team has given up on? Let me know in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.